stumbled upon a hidden camera on his property. He found that it included pictures of himself and TWRA officers. A three-judge panel voted on the case out of Benton County earlier this year, exploring privacy issues and private property. In the first of a multi-part story, Chris O'Brien takes us inside this case.
If you found cameras on your property, odds are you'd be a little surprised.
It was right here on that, out of those two little scrub oaks. It was on the one on the right, kind of right where that hole is, right in there. You know, 10 feet up or so.
Hunter Hollingsworth has lived in the small city of Camden his entire life. Hunting and fishing aren't hobbies in these parts. To him, they're practically a religion.
Since I was in pull-ups.
While out hunting one day in early 2018, Hollingsworth noticed something odd in one of the trees on his hunting property.
As we came around the curve, my headlights caught something shining in the tree, and I thought it was a coon or a possum, some kind of animal in the tree. So I grabbed a flashlight out of my truck and shined the tree to see what it was. And I saw that it was a camera with an antenna.
He took the camera down and found pictures of TWRA and U.S. Fish and Wildlife agents on them, as well as himself. Hollingsworth put it in his gun safe and essentially forgot about it until that fall. That's when law enforcement came knocking with a search warrant saying he stole the camera.
They had on bulletproof vest, first aid kits, extra magazines, like they were a SWAT team to come get this camera that I stole that was on my property illegally. And they searched my whole house.
Officers handcuffed Hollingsworth, but he didn't go to jail or receive a citation that day. Months later, U.S. Fish and Wildlife charged him with several violations, including illegal baiting and theft of government property. Hollingsworth took a plea deal to drop most of the charges, which resulted in suspension of his license. He then filed a lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of the cameras. Federal court threw that lawsuit out. With legal fees adding up, Hollingsworth was running out of options.
You're playing against a loaded deck to start with, and your average person doesn't have the funds or the time to fight them because they'll just drag you out and run you out of money.
That's when the Institute for Justice, a nonprofit public law firm, stepped in. As Hollingsworth came to find out, he wasn't the only one the TWRA and U.S. Fish and Wildlife were watching. For now, in Camden, Chris O'Brien.
When you coming down here every time I hunt, didn't nobody invite you?
When you bought your hunting license, you invited me.
Should wildlife agencies like TWRA be allowed to watch you on camera on your own property? It's a complex issue we've covered here on WATE with two stories last Thursday and Friday. Now, some argue that those agencies need autonomy to catch people committing crimes. Others, though, say TWRA crossed a line in this case. State Capitol reporter Chris O'Brien brings our three-part series to a close now after exploring the ongoing lawsuit against TWRA and the fallout from this case.
When Hunter Hollingsworth and Terry Rainwater sued the TWRA and some of its employees, they asked for money. $1 to be exact.
It's not about the dollar. It's about the rights that have been restored to property owners all across Tennessee.
The Benton County Circuit Court ruled in the pair's favor in what many see as a win for landowners across the state. But the TWRA contends its job just got a whole lot harder.
Our issues are often very time sensitive. So if someone is hunting game illegally, they're going to be gone by the time we've obtained that search warrant. So there's really nothing we can do about it at that point.
It's a complex issue. At some level, people want the agency to be able to stop poaching and other wildlife crimes as seamlessly as possible. Take Hollingsworth, for example. Some people will tell you there was a reason law enforcement was watching him. If you ask him, he'll admit he's made mistakes after being charged with poaching violations in the past.
I have made mistakes, but good people make bad decisions.
Physically watching someone commit an illegal act is one thing, but Hollingsworth and Rainwaters contend that installing cameras went too far.
Cameras are absolutely over the line because you're being watched 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're being seen doing things that could be private.
And in Rainwater's case, he says he's never committed a wildlife violation in his life.
I have a clean record. Hadn't been doing anything illegal, so why should there be spying on my land?
Their attorneys argue that other law enforcement can't enter without a search warrant, so why should this be any different?
In your house, you can commit cyber crimes, you can deal drugs. Nobody thinks, though, that just because it would be easier if police could go into your house whenever they want, all of a sudden they should be able to do that.
Prior to the camera installations, Hollingsworth pled guilty to hunting violations and had his hunting license suspended 3 years. That suspension ends November 6th.